Have you ever wondered how someone you trusted 100% could destroy your life in an instant? Emily Dawson, a 40-year-old woman, discovered the answer on a night that changed everything. Her best friend, Clara, not only stole her husband, Daniel, but also broke her heart with a betrayal that seemed straight out of a movie. But Emily didn't let her grief get the better of her. She planned a disguised revenge, a journey of anger, overcoming, and transformation. If you've ever gone through a loss that seems unbearable, or if you want to understand how faith can guide you through chaos, this video is for you. Click. Watch and discover how a woman can find her strength again when all seems lost. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Emily had settled in for a quiet night. The apartment was quiet. The light from the fireplace cast dancing shadows on the walls, and the aroma of fresh coffee still lingered in the air. Daniel, her husband of 10 years, had gone out to buy a gift for his mother, leaving her alone, with Lily, her daughter, who was sleeping in her arms. Then her phone vibrated. A message from a stranger. "She needs you. Everything is lost." Emily froze. The number belonged to Clara, her best friend, the one who had been by her side since her first day in town. The weight of the message pressed down on her chest. Clara, who had always defended her, who had helped her rebuild her life after her divorce from her ex-husband, was now calling her urgently. But why? Slowly, Emily's mind began to piece together a reality she didn't want to see. Clara had been the one who had invited her to dinner that night, insisting that Daniel come with her. "He deserves some peace," Clara had said, her smile now a mask. Emily stood up, trembling, and opened her laptop. Daniel's photo folder was open. Among the work photos and family photos, there was a picture of Clara smiling next to him, her hand on his arm. The photo was recent. The world had fallen apart. She tried to remember any sign, any hint. But her trust in Clara was so deep that she had ignored even the glances they had exchanged, the silences that seemed to hold secrets. Now, every detail felt like a trap. What had Clara meant by "all is lost"? Was it a confession? A goodbye? Emily felt a lump in her throat. The love she had felt for Daniel, the love she had believed to be unshakable, now seemed like an illusion. Her phone vibrated again. A new message. "Come here now." Emily hesitated, but the weight of her grief pushed her toward the door. The sky was dark, and the night felt colder than before. She didn't know what she would find, but one thing was certain. Life as she knew it was over. Emily's hands shook as she stepped into Clara's apartment, the door creaking open like a warning. The air was thick with the scent of lavender and something else. Something metallic, like fear. Clara stood by the window, her back to the room, her shoulders hunched, as if she were carrying the weight of the world. "You came," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Emily held her breath. Clara had always been the calm in the storm, the steady hand in the chaos. But now she looked broken. "Clara, what's going on?" Emily's voice shook, but she forced herself to stand. Clara turned slowly, her eyes red and her face pale. "I didn't want to do this," she said, her voice cracking. "But I couldn't let you live a lie." Emily's heart was pounding. A lie? What lie? Before she could ask, Clara stepped forward, her hands shaking. "Daniel. He's not the man you think he is. He's been seeing me for months, I didn't want this to happen. I swear I didn't want it to happen. Emily's mind raced. Daniel? Her husband? Her partner? The father of her child? How could this be possible? She felt the walls closing in, the world tilting beneath her feet. Why? She managed to say hoarsely. Clara's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. I thought I was helping him. I thought he needed someone who understood. Someone who could fix what you couldn't. The words hit her like a physical blow. Emily's knees nearly buckled. Clara reached out for her, but Emily recoiled. Don't touch me, she said, her voice shaking. You were my best friend. You were supposed to protect me. Clara's face crumpled. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But the apology didn't matter. The damage had already been done. Emily turned and ran, her heart breaking with every step. The night air burned her skin, but she didn't care. She had lost everything. Emily stumbled back into the apartment, the door slamming behind her like a final verdict. The silence was deafening, broken only by the sound of her own labored breathing. She collapsed onto the couch, her hands shaking, her mind a storm of questions. How could Clara? How could Daniel? The betrayal cut deeper than any wound she had ever known, leaving her empty, raw, and desperate. She thought of Lily, huddled in bed, oblivious to the chaos unfolding around her. How could she protect her daughter from this? She stared at the ceiling, the flickering light casting ghostly shadows. Faith had always been her anchor, the small voice in the chaos that whispered, "This will pass." But now, even that seemed distant, like an unanswered prayer. She closed her eyes, trying to remember the last time she had felt safe, but the memories blurred into a haze of lies. What, if this is all I have left? The thought tormented her, but she pushed it away. No, she wouldn't let it define her. The room felt colder now, the air heavy with the weight of her grief. She picked up her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen. Clara's face flashed in her mind. Her smile, her tears, the way she'd begged for forgiveness. But forgiveness wasn't an option. Not yet. She needed answers. She needed to understand how someone she trusted so much could have destroyed her life. And she needed to decide what came next. A single tear ran down her cheek, but she wiped it away. This wasn't the end. It couldn't be. She had to think of Lily, a daughter who deserved a strong mother, one who wouldn't crumble under the weight of betrayal. Slowly, she stood, her resolve growing stronger. The pain would never go away completely, but she wouldn't let it destroy her, not this time. Emily sat in the dim light of the kitchen, the silence broken only by the ticking of the clock. Her hands gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white. The weight of betrayal pressed down on her like a lead blanket, but beneath the pain, a spark of something else flickered. Anger. Not the reckless kind, but a quiet, steady flame. This isn't the end, she told herself. It's the beginning. She picked up her phone, her fingers shaking as she scrolled through her contacts. Clara's name stared back at her, a ghost of everything she'd once trusted. But she didn't call. Not yet. Instead, she opened a new document on her laptop and typed, "What if I don't just leave?" The words sounded strange, but they held a strange comfort. She'd spent years being the calm in the storm, the one who forgave, the one who held the pieces together. Now, for the first time, she wanted to be the storm. The thought terrified her. What if she lost herself in the process? What if the revenge she craved turned her into someone she no longer recognized? But the alternative, living with the shame, the guilt, the hollow pain of betrayal, was unbearable. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and whispered a prayer she hadn't said in years. "Lord, guide me, show me the way." The silence that followed was heavy, but not empty. It was a pause, a breath before the next move. She stood, her resolve steeling. The plan wasn't fully formed, but it didn't need to be. She would find out the truth, not just about Clara and Daniel, but about herself. And when the time came, she would make them feel the same pain they had caused her, not out of hatred, but out of a need to reclaim her power. Emily's hands hovered over the keyboard, the cursor blinking like a heartbeat. She'd spent the night staring at the screen, her mind racing through every possible outcome, every cruel twist she could imagine. But revenge wasn't just about pain. It was about control. And control was what she'd lost. Now she would regain it, one calculated step at a time. She began by researching Clara and Daniel, delving into their lives with a precision that felt strange to her. The more she learned, the more she realized how deeply they had orchestrated their deception. Clara's work at the charity ball, Daniel's late-night phone calls, the way they avoided her questions. Every detail was a thread in a tapestry of betrayal. But Emily didn't want to expose them to brute force. She wanted them to feel the weight of her lies, to see their own reflections in the mirror of her pain. Late that night she sat by the window, the city lights flickering like distant stars. Lily slept soundly in her room, oblivious to the storm brewing outside. Emily whispered, a prayer, not for forgiveness, but for strength. "Lord, let me be the light in this darkness," she whispered. The words felt like a promise, a vow to herself. She would not become the monster they thought she was. She would be the storm, the fire, the truth they could not overcome. Her phone vibrated, a text from Clara. "I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say." Emily stared at the screen, her heart a battleground. She could end this now, let the guilt consume her, let the pain define her. But she had already chosen her path. She closed the message and typed a single sentence. "You will see me soon." Emily's hands shook as she typed the final words of her plan, the screen glowing like a beacon in the darkness. She had spent days crafting every detail, making sure Clara and Daniel felt the full weight of their betrayal. But the real test wasn't in the plan. It was in the execution. She had to be careful not just to expose them, but to make them understand the pain they had caused. She began by gathering evidence, combing through every conversation, every photo, every moment of their charade. The more she uncovered, the more she realized how deeply they had orchestrated their lies. Clara's charity events, Daniel's late-night phone calls, the way they avoided her questions, every detail was a thread in a tapestry of betrayal. But Emily didn't want to expose them to the brute force. She wanted them to feel the weight of her lies, to see their own reflections in the mirror of her pain. Late that night, she sat by the window, the city lights flickering like distant stars. Lily slept soundly in her room, oblivious to the storm brewing outside. Emily whispered, a prayer not for forgiveness but for strength. "Lord, let me be the light in this darkness," she whispered. The words felt like a promise, a vow to herself. She would not become the monster they thought she was. She would be the storm, the fire, the truth they could not overcome. Her phone vibrated. A text from Clara. "I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say." Emily stared at the screen, her heart a battleground. She could end this now. Let the guilt consume her. Let the pain define her. But she had already chosen her path. She closed the message and typed a single sentence. "You will see me soon." The cursor blinked, waiting. And for the first time, Emily smiled, not with joy, but with purpose. Emily's plan began to unfold like a slow-burning fire, each step carefully planned to ignite the truth. She began with small, calculated moves, subtle hints, lost documents, and whispered conversations that would eventually lead Clara and Daniel to question their very reality. This wasn't about public humiliation. It was about making them feel the same helplessness she had endured. She wanted them to understand what it meant to be trapped in a web of their own making. But as the days passed, the weight of her actions began to weigh on her chest. She found herself staring into the mirror, wondering if she was becoming the very thing she despised. The anger that had once fueled her now felt like a shadow, creeping into her thoughts, clouding her judgment. She prayed every night, not for revenge, but for clarity. "Lord, show me the way," she whispered, her voice shaking. The silence that followed was heavy but not empty. It was a pause, a breath before the next move. One night she got a call from Clara. Her voice was shaky, almost broken. "Emily, I know what you're doing. I don't know why, but I need to talk to you." Emily's heart was pounding. She had expected resistance, but not this. She hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. "Come here," she said, her voice firm. "But be ready for the truth." The meeting was tense, the air between them thick with unspoken words. Clara's eyes were red, her hands shaking. "I didn't want this to happen," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I was helping him. I thought he needed someone who understood. Someone who could fix what you couldn't." The words hit her like a physical blow. But Emily was unfazed. She had spent years being the calm in the storm, the forgiving one. Now, for the first time, she wanted to be the storm. The confrontation between Emily and Clara was a storm of emotions, each word a bolt of lightning that cracked the fragile surface of their friendship. Clara's tears fell like rain, her voice cracking as she begged for understanding. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered, her hands clasped in front of her like a prayer. "I thought I was saving him. I thought I was saving us." Emily's heart ached, but she held on. This wasn't about saving anyone. This was about reclaiming her power. She stepped closer, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside. "You didn't save him, Clara. You destroyed everything. You stole my trust, my marriage, my peace. And now you think a few tears are going to fix everything?" Clara's face tightened, but Emily didn't stop. "This isn't about forgiveness. This is about truth. And you're going to feel every bit of it." The room fell silent, the weight of her words hanging in the air. Clara fell to her knees, her head in her hands. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. Emily turned away, her heart heavy with the knowledge that this wasn't the end. The truth would come out, and with it, the consequences. She had set the wheels in motion, and there was no turning back. As she stepped out of the apartment, the night air stung her skin, but she didn't care. She had taken the first step, and the path ahead was clear. The pain would never go away completely, but she wouldn't let it define her. Not this time. The aftermath of Emily's plan was a whirlwind of emotions, each day bringing new revelations and consequences. Clara and Daniel's lives unraveled in ways they hadn't anticipated, their secrets exposed like a shattered mirror. The community that had once admired them now whispered behind closed doors, their trust eroded by the weight of betrayal. Emily watched from the sidelines, her heart a battleground of conflicting emotions. She had expected a sense of victory, but instead found herself grappling with the cost of her actions. The pain she had inflicted on Clara and Daniel was undeniable, and though she told herself it was necessary, guilt loomed like a shadow. She spent nights staring at the ceiling, wondering if she had crossed a line from which she would never recover. One night, as Lily played in the garden, Emily sat on the porch, the weight of her choices weighing her down. She closed her eyes, letting the sounds of the night wash over her. "Lord, guide me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was a reminder that she was still there, still standing. As the days turned into weeks, Emily began to find a strange sense of peace. She hadn't forgotten the pain, but she no longer let it control her. She had reclaimed her power, not through revenge, but through the strength to move forward. And in that strength, she found a new beginning. Emily not only overcame betrayal, but she found new purpose in the pain. She learned that the truth, even painful ones, can be the key to freedom. Revenge wasn't the answer, but the courage to face reality was. And now, looking back, she sees that the greatest lesson was that life isn't about what's taken from us, but how we choose to rise after the fall. Have you ever experienced something like that? What would you do in her place? Betrayal is a blow that leaves us weak, but it also teaches us resilience. How about sharing this story with someone who needs inspiration today? Leave a comment, like, and subscribe to the channel, because every story we tell can change someone's life.